Hello everybody. I know that I said that Jag Week was over and done with the F-Type SVR, but I am very pleased to say that I have today one last little treat for you. I'm here inside a building uninventively titled The Collection. So called because it is indeed a collection of very fine and interesting cars owned by Jaguar Land Rover Classic Works. Next door there is a huge workshop where they work on all sorts of different and interesting cars. They're currently rebuilding a number of E-Types, they're building continuation D-Types, all sorts of exciting stuff. But I can't film in there, I can instead film in here. And this is a perfect backdrop for today's story. You see, this is about an E-Type. A very special E-Type indeed. It was built in 1966, the tail end of the year. A great year for Great Britain all round, it would seem. The car was built and delivered to a gentleman called Barry Messiter. Now, he was a very particular chap and he loved his cars. Now, the story of this particular car is that Graham Hill actually purchased it, but how true that is or not, I couldn't say. What I do know for a fact is that that car was then delivered straight from the dealer to a chap called Coombs, John Coombs. Now, in the 1960s, if you had a Jag and you were possibly a getaway driver and you needed your car to be as good as it possibly could, he was the man. Now, he worked on an awful lot of Jaguar's saloon cars of the times, but allegedly only ever one E-Type in a very distinctive colour, Roman purple. The car was then shipped over to New Zealand, where it spent the next 25 years. And that was until it went up for sale. And a gentleman who worked with JD Classics was on holiday in Australia. He was perusing a classified ads magazine and saw this car advertised for sale. Now, at the time, you have to remember, E-Types were not worth what they are today. And finding one then in good and unrestored condition was pretty difficult. And this car, with its history, well, it was a no-brainer. So the man hopped on a flight to New Zealand, bought the car straight away and had it brought back to the United Kingdom. It was then put up for sale and it was purchased by my father. He owned that car for a number of years, eventually selling it in 2007 when he unfortunately got divorced. It was one of a few cars that sold, and basically that year sadly was also the year that I got my driving license. So although I went out in the car a couple of times, well, I never had any chance of driving it. And when that car went away, so did, in my mind, my chances of ever seeing it again and also driving an E-Type. Now, I've not just come here today because it provides an amazing backdrop for an interesting story. You see, nestled among this selection of incredible machinery is one that is actually very familiar indeed to me. My dad's old E-Type. FHJ 281D has in fact been part of the Jaguar Classic Collection for about 5 years. It was purchased as part of an acquisition that Jaguar performed with something known as the James Hull Collection. There is a lot in here that isn't even Jaguar or Land Rover, but is simply cool, and I love the guys here for that. They have been very nice and very helpful and were very keen to help reunite me with this car. Like I said, today I will not be driving it, but this car does very much get driven, and that makes me very happy indeed, because that was one of the few things that never happened when my dad owned it. It just didn't go out enough. That's just what happens when you don't have a lot of time. But this car does now see active service and is a much loved part of the fleet here. Unlike many of the other E-Types here, this car has not been restored and there are no plans to restore it. One of the things that they'll do here is if you want to buy yourself an E-Type as if it was still 1966, you can do that. They're doing what they call the E-Type Reborn. So you come to the people at Classic Works, you tell them what E-Type you wanted, and they will build it for you. No, it's not going to be cheap, but you will not find a more authentic E-Type anywhere else in the world. It is basically a time machine next door. Like I said, unfortunately, I cannot show you the work that they're performing, but it is incredible, and the cars they work on are just magnificent. So, to this car. Now, this car actually wears a 1965 number plate, but the car was built in 66. Now, this piece of paper here, which all of the classic cars get, tells me a few things about what allegedly went on under the bonnet. You see, they say the camshaft timing was tweaked for efficiency, and the sand cast manifolds, exhaust manifolds, were replaced with the tuned tubular 6-branch exhaust. It had better rear springs and Coney dampers, different rear camber, and a cylinder head treatment including flowed inlet ports and inlet manifold carburetors matched. The whole engine was blueprinted, and rather incredibly, the flywheel had 19 pounds, about 8 kilos, shaved from it. That's a huge amount. A legit, genuine E-Type 4.2 litre put out, back in the day, allegedly 265 horsepower. This one, we don't know. We really do not know. But what I'd love to do now is to give you all a personalised guided tour of this car. And if you've enjoyed this video, please do mention in the comment section, share the hell out of it, because if the video does well, hopefully the lovely people here will let me back in and I can show you in detail some of the other things around here. Because honestly, look, this is a lovely car, but there's some stuff over there that I'm going a little bit unnecessary over. So let's have a look at the car. I know that it is basically sacrilege to say, but the E-Type never actually appealed that much to me. It's a kind of odd looking car. I know that Enzo Ferrari once called it the most beautiful car ever made, and that's a fair compliment from a man that didn't really like to dish them out all that often. But over the years, I must say that I've begun to understand the appeal of the E-Type somewhat more. This one, of course, is always going to have a special place in my heart, and that's why I'm so happy to have sort of been reunited with it. I love covering stories of cars. I love talking to people that have got great stories about cars and families and things like that, because a car can often be a member of the family in the same way that a pet can, you know, or maybe a lesser liked child. But it's actually really interesting covering my own story. So let's just show you in the car. Now, this is perhaps the most controversial bit of this car, and I would love your feedback on this to answer a question sort of once and for all. This is not the original colour interior. The original was black. The interior was not in good condition when Dad got the car. I remember that gear lever, oh, it's still cracked. It's still cracked. I always remember that about the car. The gear lever top was cracked. And he restored it to grey, for which he got a lot of flack. When the car went out in the motoring press, there's tiny little pedals there, indicator stalk on the right hand side because it's an old car, very simple display. This car is what's known as a Series 1.5. Series 1 is the general sort of era of the car. It's a fixed head coupe. Dad was fanatical about wanting a fixed head coupe. He was never really into the roadsters. I know for many people that's the definitive E-Type, but not for him. Early cars had fared in headlights like this. Later cars had open exposed ones, but this has a later dash, so it is affectionately known as a Series 1.5. Now, something funny I can actually show you. Many moons ago, when Dad had this car, so long ago, I was going to a LAN party and I had a real big full-size tower computer. So you're talking about this sort of tool, and Dad had to take me because Mum was out, and this was the only car we had in the family that could actually fit my computer in it. That's how decent that rear stowage space is. I can't even remember how the hell you get into the back, but yeah. Anyway, you can see down here some of that exhaust. Now, this exhaust may not be the original, because the original is very loud. You can see there's not a lot of silencing in there, and in a bit we'll have a look at the front as well. But before we do, let's hop inside. This is very surreal for me, I have to say. Oh, it's pretty tight in here. Oh, but the seat is really comfy. Actually, really, really nice. So you've got all the gauges up here. Push button starter. Front. Oh, sorry, that is a cigar lighter. That's the starter. So my bad. Obvious there. Ignition, starter, fans, lights, all sort of stuff. Really cool. So whenever people say to me like about, you know, they like push button starters because it's a modern thing, no, it's not. Very old school radio, which is probably not original anyway, because I'm pretty sure did not have cassettes in the 60s. Handbrake, remember this thing. Now these doors, got to talk about these doors. When I was a kid, I hated these doors because they didn't shut properly. I think somebody has looked after this car because they now shut beautifully. Oh, look at that view out. That is proper. Let's get that all set right. There you go. Little vanity mirror in here. This actually feels like a hell of a nice place. Bit of storage space here. Loads of room in the back. You can see why they kind of then made a 2+2 later on. And in fact, this looks like this moves as well, should you need it to access whatever goes under here or stop stuff sliding about, I don't know. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. Oh, pedals are nice. Oh, gear shift's actually pretty good too, you know. 4-speed, I believe. Yeah. And I don't know where reverse is. But yeah, it's nice. I'm surprised at that. That's really quite good. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, what a thing. What a gorgeous car. Now, with luck, I will eventually get to drive this car next year. So now's as good a time as any. Let me know what you want to know about this car. So here's how you get into the engine of an E-Type. It's a 2-stage process, or 3-stage I suppose. You twist this side goes like that, and the other side goes to other way. If I can lean across and do it. Ta-da! There, done. Actually, can I do it just one handed? Yep, I can, there you go. Now, one thing with an E-Type, notice down here, so make sure if you do this on an E-Type you're on a flat surface, because there is not a lot of room left for front clearance. Classic Y wheels, and this is one of the things I never really got about the E-Type. They're so far in the arches. Looks like they could go a lot further out than they do. Anyway, here is that legendary 4.2 litre XK engine. The colour of this car, as mentioned, is Roman purple. Oh, a little filter there. And look at that. Proper nice exhaust manifold. That is one of the upgrades this car has. Obviously no catalytic converters, nothing like that. I think it might have got an electric fan on this car as well as an upgrade. Might have been something that Dad had done. But there we have it. And the all-important little sticker up here, or sticker plaque, stating that this car has been modified by Coombs of Guildford. There we have it. That is a very special car with some now very famous neighbours and, fortunately, very caring, loving owners. Thank you all for watching. Please like, comment below, subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to see something else that you've seen in the background here on camera, put it in the comments below and I will ask the question. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.